call the Templeton Board of Selectmen meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item that we have on our agenda for tonight is the Town Administrator Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I distributed the report, and among the things that are underway, have already begun to look at revenue for the next fiscal year. As I've mentioned before, I will have a chart for you which will show revenue from the prior 5 years supplied by the Department of Revenue, but also a projection of our revenue going forward. I think the most important projection would be for fiscal 16. It gets less accurate farther out you go, but at least there'll be some effort there to try and understand where the town is going to be with revenue going into the future. Once I'm able to provide that to you, and I'm hoping I can provide that at the next meeting, then I would ask the Board of Selectmen to look it over and to establish some guidelines for the budget process. In other words, let's say I think we're going to get 2.75% more revenue next year. If you then say, all right, budget for a 2% or 2.5% increase, then in turn we can pass that instruction out to the departments as they make their budget requests. So that would be the next step after getting the revenue, getting guidance or direction from the Board of Selectmen. Town hall projects. To my amazement, the town hall is really coming together. Everything that seems to be happening. It's a construction site during the day, and lots of different activities are underway. The brickwork in the rear of the building, preparing for the handicapped ramp, has been completed, all 3 windows. Today, I had several discussions with the Highway Department about doing the project, and also talked with the person at Whitman and Bingham who prepared the plan. And they're going to meet tomorrow morning with the highway superintendent and go over a few details, and then he's ready to do the project. So I'm confident that we will have the handicap ramp available at the rear of the town hall by September 1st, which is the deadline that was given to the town by the Architectural Access Board. So I think we'll comply. Electrical work is proceeding. The first room to be done is that room in the front to the right as you walk in the front door, which will be the room for the select board and for the town administrator, and that wiring is completed. Electrician is now working in other areas, and probably take another week before the electrical work will be completed. Ramp project I've already mentioned. The heating system, the old units have been removed. The hole in the wall that allowed the old units to vent to the outside has been insulated and covered over on the inside, and Chartier is going to be doing the brickwork to cover the hole on the outside. When you remove those metal louvers, there's a big hole, and so I've asked them to look at that, give us an estimate, which they have, and to go ahead and do the work in conjunction with the other work that they're doing, so that, and I've also asked them to use old bricks if they can find them, so they won't, those holes won't be covered with new bricks and look unattractive. So, And we expect to relocate to the new offices for the Select Board and the Town Administrator later on this week. So that'll vacate the office where Holly is now working and open up that office to bring in more offices from outside that building. So the goal being to close as many of the outlying offices prior to winter, because as the highway superintendent has pointed out, in the budget process, we didn't provide enough funding, because we didn't have money, for the town's fuel needs, heating fuel needs for the winter. So we need to close buildings as fast as we can before winter so that we can, will not run out of heating fuel. Interviews for a permanent town accountant began today. I interviewed a candidate. Our interim town accountant was with me. He asked a lot of the more technical questions, and I have another interview coming on Thursday or Wednesday of this week, and perhaps 2 more next week. I'm not sure if they're actually going to go forward with it, but we have the potential for interviewing 4 candidates for town accountant. Interview today was encouraging. I think we have a candidate who was a good candidate. So. Whole process ought to be completed by August the 20th, and we should be at the point of recommending a hire. Police grievance, met with the police union, and we expect we have reached, I think, agreement, more or less. And we have 1 more session, and I think that grievance is going to be settled on Wednesday. Fiscal 16 budget, I've had discussions and one long meeting with the advisory board representative, Will Spring, about our fiscal 16 budget. We are tweaking the format and hoping to come up with a format that provides additional information for select board as well as the advisory board and town meeting, and certainly agree upon a format so that we don't have various entities drafting their own budget documents, which happens in some towns. So I think we can provide a budget in fiscal 16 that provides additional and significant information in the budget document. The pro forma tax rate recap for fiscal 15. As you know, the Department of Revenue has said as soon as the tax rate recap is ready and entered into the gateway system online, they will come out and have a meeting and basically look over our whole financial management operation and make recommendations, and we would hope announce that we're on the right path. So talk with Matt about that, and I am hopeful that the tax rate recap data will be entered into Gateway within a week. And as you know, the last item I've already mentioned to you, we have an architect design for the handicapped bathroom in Town Hall. And no plans for construction yet, but as soon as we finish with the heating system and the other work there, I think this will be the next item to get underway. And lastly, something came in late this afternoon. When I printed for you, I also sent you an electronic copy. As you know, we have been looking to sell tax titles, and it's taken some time, but we have a good updated document that we gave to Talodge, the company that came to us and expressed an interest. And so you have that in front of you, and the numbers are very encouraging. They're estimating that we can, they're likely to bid on $300,000 to $500,000 worth of tax titles, which means they will then undertake the task of collecting the tax titles. They will pay us the back taxes plus the interest. And The job then shifts to them to do the collecting. But anyway, all the information is here. I would hope that we could get this squared away in time for the Department of Revenue's visit, so that when combined with the sale of 252 Baldwinville Road, we will ask the Department of Revenue to use their special process to certify free cash, just so the town has it in the current year, because normally they won't do it after the end of the fiscal year, June 30th, but they have a special process. If you make the request and they understand different or special circumstances, they'll certify some free cash, which we would certainly, it'll be worthwhile having that as a reserve and, to cover any needs that happen during the year. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item that we have on the agenda are several appointments, and we'll try to move through these. The first one, just because it's on the top of our packet that I'd like to start with, is from Carol Harris, the town clerk, regarding election workers and the registrar. In a letter dated July 29th, 2014, she writes, "Dear Board of Selectmen, I hereby request," and I'm going to apologize in advance for mispronouncing any names, because there's a lot of them, so I apologize in advance. I hereby request that Mamie Sweeney be appointed to the Board of Registrars with her term ending June 30th, 2017, and that the following people are appointed until June 30th, 2015. Election constables: Robert Sands, Eugene Dennis, George Coulard. Poll workers: Warden Carol Hanela, Joyce Gruken, Sheila Tallman. Deputy Warden: Susan Anderson, Mary Alger, Dorothy Ledger-Lore. Clerk: Rawleen White, Barbara Woodbury, Phyllis Dennis. Deputy Clerk: Colleen Pender, Judith Levangie, Deborah Kojal. Inspectors: Doris Geister, Herbert Farron, Leo Provencher, Joyce Provencher, Priscilla Leclerc, Adrian Morgan, Francis Yakowski, Ida O'Brien, James Whalen, Janice Whalen, Lucille Benbenick, Thomas Benbenick, Jane Eaton, Carol Garvey, Catherine Case, George Woodbury, Janice Tursky, Karen Tucker, Lori Snoonian, Mary Chipman, Sharon Dymack, Annette Fleming, Cheryl DeCartier, Diane Coffin, Janice Case, Linda St. Laurent, Shelley Saunders, Carol Clark, Diane Haley Brooks, Robert Kimball, Isaac Matson, Sally Frisch, Janice Lovell, Kathleen McAuliffe, Ida Bean, Jessica Bergeron, Justine Sargent, Barbara Cullen, Samantha Anderson. Thank you for your consideration, Carol A. Harris. Town Clerk, do I have a motion regarding these appointments?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes.
Can one of the sitting selectmen be on that? I mean, I thought that we had a bylaw about something.
We just voted it.
I think it was elected or appointed, wasn't it? Well, until we get clarification on that, we can hold off. I mean, obviously, I would understand if she was running, she wouldn't be able to be a poll worker, but I don't know. We'll have to check that, because I'm not sure if it was, whether it was elected or appointed, or if it was just elected. I believe it's elected. Is it just elected? So, so if that language is correct, then we can go ahead with a full nomination of roster. If anybody would like to make, I have the motion in the second. And then if we find out otherwise that that isn't correct, then obviously we would remove her from the appointment list. Any other discussion? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Our next list of appointments to the Templeton Arts Cultural Council: Carol Clark for a term of 3 years expiring June 30th, 2017. For the Recreation Committee, Aaron Davis, 1-year term expiring June 30th, 2015. Also for the Recreation Committee, William Davis, a 1-year term expiring June 30th, 2015. And also for the Recreation Committee, Barry Jansen's 1-year term expiring June 30th, 2015.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, first and second. That's okay. Any discussion? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. Next, we have, I'll do the two police, so I don't forget them. From the police department, we have appointments for the police department to go from August 1st, 2014 to June 30th, 2016. This is from these three individuals currently held the position acting. Now they'll have it as a full-time permanent status. Chief Michael Bennett, Sergeant Derek Hall, and Sergeant Stephen Fliss. And we also have, we'll handle those first.
All right, so moved.
Second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? Chief Bennett, did you want to say anything, or? No. Okay. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Next, we had a request for an appointment to the police department. He's going to be a full-time patrolman starting August 25th, 2014. Nick Melanti. Do I have a motion to approve his appointment?
So moved.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Just one quick question. This is replacing one of the positions that was funded, but is
Actually,
vacant?
it's gonna be replacing one of our patrolmen that just advised me last Monday that he's leaving.
Oh, right, okay.
So we're still down two, this is gonna replace him, and then
Okay.
we have the one that we're putting out now for advertising.
Right, but we're not adding anything above
No,
what we
no,
already
it's
have.
all
right?
budgeted.
Correct. Sure. Any other discussion? If not, Julie?
Well,
Oh, sorry.
is Nick here?
No, Nick is currently in California.
Oh, wow, jeez, that's, okay,
Any other questions?
there we go.
If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Our next list of appointments is for the new Community Veterans Oversight Board appointments. We received a letter from our Director of Veteran Services, John Kaplis, that reads, "Dear Selectmen, please find this letter as a request to appoint the following to the Community Veterans Oversight Board. Chair, Michael Curie, Active Army. Co-Chair, Hal Bourgeois, Air Force veteran. Secretary, Christine Chaplis, Active Army National Guard. And Treasurer, Ted Furr, Air Force veteran." And Mr. Kaplis, did you want to say anything about the appointments or the?
About the appointments?
Right, or your request for them, or make any kind of comment on them?
I don't know if it's called.
Well, all the appointments are, like I said, are all veterans,
Yep.
and they all live in town, and all of them are very eager to start this process, which is a mandate, which I was at oversight by my part back in April, but the first meeting is going to be in August, the
Okay.
19th of August, and we're already scheduled for the third Tuesday of every month at the Council of Aging.
Oh, gotcha. Does anyone, any selectmen or anyone? Yes, Holly?
Christine, the conflict of interest?
No,
Okay.
no, not as a secretary, she's just going to take notes.
She won't have a vote? I mean, I don't know if it is, I just thought it was.
Yeah, I guess I don't think it would be a conflict. She's my spouse.
I don't think it's conflict because they don't have appointment power
Oh,
Right.
over the director.
Okay.
They're advisory.
Exactly, exactly, especially when it starts to come into the budgetary stuff as far as the hopefully grants that are going to come in, as well as other donations, et cetera, stuff like that, that we need them to have the oversight to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and making sure that I can present it to the town the right way.
is there any other discussion?
Okay.
Yes?
Do we need to vote to create this committee? Have you done that already? No?
I don't recall if that was part of
In-
the parcel.
I think back in April, when we went from being part of North Quabbin to having our own, I think that was part of the Mass General Law,
It is.
to establish this committee. So I think when we did that, we established the committee. We just didn't fill the positions.
Right.
You're saying when we accepted? Okay.
Right.
When we appointed our own Director of Veteran Services, then, yes?
And what is the purpose of the committee to oversee?
Oversee budgetary responsibilities as far as the grant money that comes in, the packets of the Chapter 115 veterans that are utilizing the benefit now, and give advice as far as what other resources between the Department of Veteran Services in Boston, Gardner, the Massachusetts Veterans Organization, as well as every other organization that's around us, and give certain veterans assistance wherever they need.
Anything else?
Just one thing. Being that we are appointing this committee, it's a public board, so you need to see the town clerk in regards to what you have to do for posting and minutes and that type of thing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that was one of the things that's on the flyer, which I do have copies for all of you, that it has to be posted within 24 hours after the meeting's been held on the Templeton.org website. It'll be posted.
Right, you're talking about the minutes, though.
The minutes,
But the
yeah.
meeting posting has to be 48 hours and all
Right,
that other
exactly,
stuff, yeah.
Is there anything else? If not, I'll take a motion to appoint the Community Veterans Oversight Board.
So moved.
Oh, yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any questions? Yes.
Can I just ask how long their appointments are for? Is it 1 year,
I'm
3
sorry.
year?
It's 1 year. They're all 1 year. April 30th of 2015.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, Julie,
Yes.
Doug, John,
Yes.
and I will vote yes as well. And since you are up here, you're not the next item on the agenda, but you're 2 down. We have a proclamation regarding the Purple Heart community.
That's, yes.
Yep, and would you be interested in discussing that now while you're up here rather than?
Absolutely.
We've got it.
Oh, you got one? All right, so basically what you're looking in front of you is obviously a proclamation of the town to make this community, this town, a Purple Heart community, which is another good thing for the community. It builds rapport with the veterans within the community, the other Purple Hearts within the community. There's a lot of communities that are catching on. So Bear or Berry just did this not like a couple months ago. Leominster is a Purple Heart community, and for a town, it goes all the way to DC. Then it all the way comes back. There's a huge, there's a really good type of demonstration of sign postings and stuff like that. It's just a great thing for the community, and it's at no cost. So it's just giving something back to the veterans.
And I'll read this quickly if that's okay. Just the Town of Templeton Proclamation, Purple Heart Community. Whereas the residents of the Town of Templeton have great admiration and utmost gratitude for all the men and women who have selflessly served their country and this community in the armed forces. And whereas veterans have paid a high price for freedom by leaving their families and community and placing themselves in harm's way for the good of all. And whereas the contributions and sacrifices of the men and women from Templeton who served in the armed forces have been vital in maintaining the freedoms and way of life enjoyed by our residents. And whereas our community has a proud tradition of military service and many of our citizens have earned the Purple Heart Medal as a result of being wounded while engaged in combat with an enemy force, construed as a singularly meritorious act of essential service. Now, therefore, we, the Town of Templeton's Board of Selectmen, do officially proclaim September 28, 2014 as a day to remember and honor all Purple Heart recipients and designate Templeton, Massachusetts as a Purple Heart community, honoring the service and sacrifices of our nation's men and women in uniform that were wounded or killed by enemies while serving to protect the freedoms enjoyed by all Americans.
I make a motion that we become a Purple Heart community and proclaim September 28th, 2014 as a day to remember and honor all Purple Heart recipients.
Is there a second?
Second.
The first and the second, any other discussion?
That's a Sunday.
It is.
Okay. Is there an event that you're planning?
It
or-
is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Some guests from DC will come up. The Purple Heart, the military, the Purple Heart Association will come in. And being a Purple Heart member myself, I'm part of this area, so there'll be a lot of state representation as well. So it should be a pretty good day.
Is this a single, one-time September 28th, 2014, or does it become an annual event?
No, it's just a one-time event.
Just a one-time event.
Once we get honored, it stays with us. The signs are made at no cost that put around the town. We have a town calendar, it'll always be on the town calendar as that day, knowing that August 7th is Purple Heart Day anyways. So September gives us time to do some planning and, you know, and get the right people here for that Sunday.
Any other questions? If not, Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We can sign this now. The next item that we have on the agenda is Mr. Mike Valenzola, who is a candidate for state senate. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. We literally just talked 20 seconds ago. But if you will, if you'd like to come up, and we will hear what you have to say.
This is the best meeting I've been to. You guys have a bar in here. I'm always impressed. I appreciate the opportunity. I'll only take a couple of minutes of your time. I've been attempting to get to all of the selectmen's meetings in the 28-town district that I'm looking to represent you folks in. And it's been a really good learning experience. I'm the only candidate in the race for state senate that's been a selectman previously. So I want to thank you folks for the job you do, and I understand the difficulties of the role, and I appreciate your service. A couple of quick points about me. My name is Mike Valenzola. I'm running for the Republican nomination for the state senate seat that is being vacated by our longtime partner in the Senate, Steve Brewer. I am a former selectman in the town of Wales, which is my hometown. It's in the South County, down at the bottom of the district on the Connecticut border. And I'm a current chairman of the Tantasco School District in Sturbridge. For the last 10 years, I've worked in the private sector at EMC Corporation, where I've held a variety of finance and operations related roles, and most recently running operations for our global inside sales division. I made the decision to run for the state senate for a couple of reasons. One, I think that effective government is balanced government. And right now on Beacon Hill, we don't have a lot of balance. And I think if we want to infuse new ideas and we want to create new opportunities for the Commonwealth, that we need to have new folks step up to the plate, get involved in the process, and take advantage of the opportunity to represent the folks that they live around and that they know firsthand from personal experiences. Secondly, I've had increasing concerns as a selectman, as a school committee member, 40% cut in local aid to our community, specifically in this part of the state, cuts in level funded dollars to Chapter 70, to regional transportation, and to a number of the other revenue streams that communities like Templeton, like Wales, and like all of the towns in this district depend on heavily. I think that if we're going to get serious about ensuring that Massachusetts is competitive, we need to make sure we're serious about investing in our communities, allowing the business sector to be able to develop opportunities and to create value for people so that we can create real jobs. We also have to infuse dollars into our public schooling system. I think good schools, strong communities, and powerful businesses make for a good Commonwealth, and that's what I really believe in, and that's why I decided to run. So I appreciate the chance to speak here. I'm happy to entertain any questions if it's appropriate. I'm always ready to go. If it's not, I'm happy to stick around and talk to folks one-on-one, but I appreciate the time.
Okay, thank you. And just one thing I should have made clear first. Obviously, any individual who is interested in representing our community, regardless of party or affiliation, will be is welcome to come here and speak. So we didn't like call him up and say, "Oh, come, I like you, so why don't you come and talk to us?" It's not that. Anyone, obviously, the floor is open to any other individual who is taking the time to ask for our vote and to represent Templeton on Beacon Hill. So,
Sure.
yes.
I'm a longtime friend of Bob Howarth, who was the state representative from Wales, representing Wales, now a judge, and he always referred to himself as the Prince of Wales. So.
It's funny you mention that, because when I won this, my seat on the Board of Selectmen, I was 22 years old, and that was the headline on the Sturbridge Villager, the Prince of Wales was elected. So I guess I stole that from him.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And if anyone has any questions, then Mike will be around and available to answer them at the end of the meeting. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming. And the next item that we have on our agenda is the Recreation Committee, discuss possible contract. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of the Recreation Committee? If there's been any forward motion regarding the request for... Yes, sure.
Just
Sure.
making sure we have- Bill Davis from Greer Road, just was appointed. Unfortunately, I was not at the last meeting.
Oh, sure.
Josh just got back from a long vacation, so he's still maybe sand and stuff on his shoes. Four of us are here tonight to discuss, or at least update you on what's going on. We were told to get in touch with the advisory committee, waiting for the next meeting.
Mhm.
We have documentation that we're going to present to them along with a letter requesting finances, I guess it's recommended by the board at the time. Other than that, there is really nothing more.
Okay.
Our soccer program has started, we've gone up to Gardner.
Mhm.
The only way we're able to do.
Yeah.
Currently, we're on a hold because we're waiting to see what's gonna happen.
Mhm.
If we are able to get funding through the advisory committee, we will not have to pursue things separately. In other words, insurance.
Yeah.
It's $12 a person or a child, and we'll have to find through that through what's that mean?
Mhm.
Taking the money that people already paid towards that. That's really what we have right now. I don't know if there's any questions. I know it's a contract, and I'm not really sure what the contract discussion is about. So.
We had discussed previously that one of the suggestions was if once the insurance situation is taken care of, obviously the committee is welcome to use the parks and other properties around town. What we do, though, generally is we have some kind of nominal contract where the committee is utilizing the space from the town.
Is that something new? Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry.
I believe that was one of the options. Now that you've been an appointed committee, I don't think you would need to do that anymore. Previously, we had discussed that and we were talking about it, looking at the options. If you were getting private insurance, then what the town would be able to do is offer you a contract for nominal consideration, $1 or
I
something.
do have a question,
Sure.
if I might present to the board, to Mr. We usually use the town to run our Cory checks for our coaches through each of our events, sporting events. Soccer's going to be starting, we have to run Cory checks for our soccer. I'm not sure how we would go about doing that. If that's something we're able to do now that we are appointed to as a committee, or do we need to fund that on our own?
Oh, Cory checks free? They are.
If you're,
We don't process anything. But I thought there was something to do with the whole thing being sponsored by the town.
Right.
The insurance and all that comes in the long term.
Okay, so if we get the funding through the advisory committee, however that works, then the Cory checks will be covered as on our own.
if you get the funding, then you become
Budgeted through the tax.
official
Yeah.
to some extent. Then it would not be violating the decision of the town meeting to provide some municipal support. And I guess I'm not familiar with the Cory check process here. Does the PD do it, or do we have a separate? We do it separate, okay, so we'll
We have
see to it that we get it done.
gentlemen who take the information, check it, make sure that it's all correct, then they pass it over to the town, and the town takes care of it. Okay, that's what we have.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for coming. Does anyone? Yes.
Now that we're appointed, does that mean that we have insurance, or we need to wait until we have money in our account?
You need to wait till you have money in the account, because you being appointed is just an act of the selectmen, not necessarily an act of the town that enables, that gives you access to those kind of taxpayer-funded items such as insurance. But once, or if you receive some level of funding through the advisory board, through their power, then you will have gotten funding and, yeah.
Yeah. You're going to need to get sworn in by the town clerk, have a meeting, organized, so you have a president, you have a chairman, a vice chairman, secretary, and then you need to take a vote to approach the advisory board. Then there's a form you fill out.
Right.
Okay, all right, okay. So it's a few steps,
Yep.
but I think it's worth a try.
Yeah, sure.
I know that you were saying that you guys were already discussing next year's budget. I don't know if this is inappropriate for me to ask, but is the rec department even looked at for next year?
We're not at that point in the process. Right now, we're not looking at expenditures at all, really, just kind of looking at revenue and how much we anticipate, so we can even kind of give advice to the town administrator, to give advice to the department heads and the various boards at kind of how much, what kind of funding we're looking at overall. So whether it would be an increase, obviously for you, it would only be an increase, it couldn't be a decrease. but, whether we'd be looking at increasing or decreasing funding. Yes, sir.
Just one more.
Sure.
If I may ask through you to Mr. Spring, I wonder when the next advisory committee meeting is?
I have no idea, I'm not chairman, so.
Oh, all right.
Oh. Yeah. And those, all of the advisory board meetings are posted
Posted
on
on
the
the
website as well. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else? Okay, thank you very much. The next item that we have is the sewer commission, and I hope that we get lots of explanation on this because of my lack of technical knowledge. I know that the chair is here, so this is regarding the Pleasant Street Pump Station Client Services Agreement and contract negotiations, and we did receive a packet in our packets that contain a lot of information, but if you could, or if someone could kind of explain this.
That's the original?
Okay, thank you very much.
This is for the repair or the upgrade of the wastewater, of the pump station on Pleasant Street. 40 years old, it's come to its end of life. About 60% of all the wastewater that goes to the treatment plant goes through that Pleasant Street pump station. So it has to be rebuilt. So this is the beginning of it. We have to start somewhere to rebuild this station. And before we can ask for funding, ask for any grants or anything, we need to go forward with this work that's going on. Have it be the environmental study, engineering, and so on and so on. So this is a contract for engineering services and the environmental study.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been in contact with USDA, satellite office on hold, and our contacts, a gentleman by the name of Steve Bonavita, and he's actually made 2 unannounced visits to my office, which was unheard of, saying, that they've got money and they want to loan it out. We utilized them before a Route 68 sewer main extension, great savings to the town. Their program has a grant and a loan aspect to it. The grant ranges from 25 to 55%, with the average being around 35 to 40%. For the Route 68 project, we actually got 54.6%. Do I hope that we'll get that on this project? Yes, but the calculations that I'm doing as for costs and everything else, I'm basing it on 35%, and their loan typically goes 40 years, but there's no prepayment penalty. In the past, we've rolled it over into a shorter amortization period. But, so the elements that we're presenting tonight, namely the engineering study, which we've already done a good part of through an MMA grant, and the environmental study have to be done as part of the application to USDA, and their fiscal year runs October to October, so we'd like to move forward with this aspect of it so we can get in early in their next fiscal year.
And is this obligating the town to anything separate from the enterprise
No.
fund?
It's not, in my cover letter, the last sentence I wrote, well, next to the last, the Board of Sewer Commission intends for all project costs to be paid by sewer users, utilizing no money raised through taxation.
I guess my question is, I know that may be what your plan is to pay for this, but legally by signing this, are we basically covering the debt? Should it not be covered, or be able to be covered through the enterprise fund?
Well, first of all, it's only for the portion that's in here, about $125,000.
Right.
Secondly, yes, you are, but even if you didn't sign it and we moved forward with it, we appropriated the money in our budget, the town is liable for any unpaid debt that the sewer enterprise incurs. That's just a part of Mass General Law 53F&a. So it's been the policy in the recent, not too distant past that it's been a joint effort in the selectmen because of that portion of Mass General Law with the signatories. And we've also added the sewer commissioners on there just to make it a joint thing. So you guys are on the hook either way, unless we put a kibosh on it, we say, no, we're not gonna go forward.
And the difference in, I know that you said that the available funds that were appropriated is $125,000, and the cost of the entire final design is $54,000 more than that. And that difference would be covered by the enterprise.
We want to move forward, and any additional money that's needed, if we could cover some with the enterprise budget, we might choose to do that. If not, we appropriate it at next year's annual town meeting. And other than that, there's no obligation if we apply to USDA that we have to follow through. And the beauty of it is if what comes to pass tonight is that the board agrees to sign this so we can move forward, and then for whatever reason the project falls to the wayside for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, all this information will still be pertinent. I mean, if we have a major earthquake and the ground shifts, we might have to resurvey. No joke intended, but so none of this money will be wasted. And if we do move forward and complete the project, these costs will be reimbursed as part of the grant loan program through USDA. Whereas if we went through the state SRF funding, they don't pay for any of the initial costs, engineering included.
Does anybody have any?
Oh, my question is, can we sign a contract that's for more than what was budgeted?
That's mine. And part of the, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time at all, but as you know, we voted and there's a new movement by the state and the Attorney General's office to make select boards responsible for signing off on any expenditures above what was appropriated by the town. So I think what Julie's referencing is that because the amount of the final project is 179 and only 125,000 was appropriated for that purpose, are we able to sign for that amount that's above and beyond what, or is this maybe something that we need to take under advisement for a meeting until we can maybe seek further clarification from?
I think this meeting was kind of get to know each other in the context
Oh,
of this
okay.
project meeting. So if we have to tweak this in
Oh,
any
gotcha,
way,
okay.
in fact, the original agreement didn't have the selectmen as a signatory, and after discussion with the commission, we added that on at most recent meeting. So we could easily change that or anything else after we, you folks think about it, we confer with whoever. Sure, we just want to get the process moving forward if that's your board's agreement with our board.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense all around to protect the Board of Selectmen, to have an opinion from town council on this, written opinion.
Our budget isn't a line item.
Right.
Right, it's like one number, and if we stay within our budget, so if it comes up more, then we can appropriate it on his budget. We do have the funds in there, you can take, maybe if you don't use much for fuel, like electricity.
Rob Peter to pay Paul.
Within the year, you can do that too, so.
Yeah, but I think we would need a town meeting vote to do kind of that movement.
To do that.
Yeah. So that's, I think town meeting approved the 125, right?
Correct.
So if they approve the 125, then I'm just thinking they should approve the 179 before we sign the thing, or.
Or we amend the
Right, amend it.
We amend the contract to just cover that part of it, which really, it's in there just as verbiage, the 179 figure, because the engineers, the board, myself, know that we're not going to go to the 179, so it'd be easy to strike that and change it to whatever figure.
Yeah,
125.
that was voted, that would.
And I think this project, obviously, if it moves forward up until the time that it's bid and a bid is accepted, I kind of planned on it moving in a stepwise way, not hopefully baby steps, but constantly moving forward. I mean, let's face it, the economy's bad, everyone's hurting. To come guns a-blazing, full steam ahead with a huge project, I think might turn people off. But if we do it piecemeal, we move forward. It's kind of like if your mechanic tells you your engine's going in your car, you don't wait till it blows up before you start making plans. So we know that the engine's going to go on this, and we're just starting to do this.
So you want us to amend that to 125, come back?
Or we can get an opinion from town
Let's
council.
get an opinion, and then we
Okay.
can.
Yeah. And then we can have this in 2 weeks on the agenda again, if to discuss it again, if that works for you, or, did you? Yep, sure.
I guess my only concern is, if town meeting voted 125, you have to identify another source of funding to cover
Go higher.
Well, they didn't appropriate 125 for this project. It was within our budget, which was voted as in its entirety, approximately $900,000. So because it wasn't voted specifically in a separate article, just like our fuel budget, say, is $10,000, but if we run short 11 months into the year, we can take it from wastewater treatment plant maintenance. So it's one of those situations. And do we plan on doing that? No. Obviously, there's not $50,000 worth of that in our budget. So we just want to move forward with $125,000. And if we can sharpen our pencil, get a little bit more done with that, great.
Okay, stop.
I've got a couple questions. The current pump station, how old is it?
38 years, 36 years.
Okay. And this new design for the replacement station, what's its life expectancy?
By the book, they say 20 years. The way I've worked with the engineers to design it. The major infrastructure, i.e. concrete and building, infinite according to human terms. What I did was I looked at other pump stations that I've seen, and I also look at the Army Corps of Engineers. I mean, they build brick, concrete buildings. They're there before we were born. They'll be here long after we're gone. So I talked over with the engineers, and it's a little bit of a premium, but they actually have pre-stressed concrete walls now. You tell them the dimensions, they make them in a factory, they bring them over, you drive a crane, you put them down, and they're just as durable as brick or block. So the mechanical portions inside of it, the pumps, basically 10, 15, 20 years, depending on the make. We have these pumps in town at 4 other pump stations. So very durable, very durable.
My question goes to the location of that pump station. It's within the floodplain for Birch Hill.
It won't be when it's done. That's one of the great motivating reasons. There's many. It needs to be done. It's old. There's bad piping under the ground. It's in the 100-year floodplain, as Julie said. We're going to move it out of there. The parcel actually has town-owned property as part of it. That's outside the floodplain, and it's also off the Army Corps of Engineers property, which the pump station and the wet well itself are now located within the floodplain on U.S. Army Corps of Engineers property. So it'll be good to, we'll be the kings of our own castle, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
I'll still get an opinion, but my understanding is that while the Sewer Commission presents a line item budget, town meeting votes the bottom line on that. They do not vote the line item budget that the town meeting votes for the town. So I'll get the opinion, but given that the town meeting voted the bottom line, that means the commission can move money in between various accounts without reference to the town meeting. And which means if you go over the 125, the commission can solve that by moving money from another place, as long as you don't exceed the bottom line amount. So.
And we've always done that just as a matter of efficacy in the process of the year. We're not going to run, start walking around to do things with we run out of gas money. But our design in this budget wasn't to go over the 125. If the opportunity arose, and the engineer said, well, geez, we'd really like the big carrot to get the design done, and then get the engineering contract services for construction, we'll really sharpen our pencil, and for another $5,000, $10,000, maybe we can do the whole ball of wax, move forward further and faster. It'd be up to the board, and we could.
So we'll get an opinion?
Yeah, we could get an opinion too.
Get an opinion about that. If not, we'll change the numbers.
Sure. But we plan on staying with 125.
Yeah, and really what it is too, like you said, it is the cover letter that came along with the contract that references that, because the contract itself does say that the agreement only authorizes work to proceed on task 6, which is $19,300. But obviously, with the knowledge that it's kind of more than what was anticipated, that's why we're.
Yeah,
I think that everything will be fine. It's just we would like to have that to make both to cover ourselves, but then also an effort to err on the side of financial responsibility. I guess it would be good to that. So. Does anyone else have any questions? Did you have a question? That was taken care of. Okay. Great. Thank you very much. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. The contract negotiations.
Chairman, I asked the town accountant to review our costs for payroll vendor warrant and to allocate those costs not only to the town but also to the enterprise departments, water, sewer, light. And the select board indicated about a month ago that they wanted to have a discussion with the enterprise funds about those costs and with a view towards getting some kind of reimbursement for town costs from the enterprise funds. In other words, have full cost accounting for the cost that we incur. So I have some interesting numbers here. I didn't get this until later this afternoon, so you'll get a copy of this later, but for our accounts payable run, that is to say data entry, reconciliation, check printing, signing, bursting, envelope stuffing, it takes the treasurer 10 hours for 118 checks. There are multiple invoices for the checks. However, this is a good representative example. So per transactions cost, it's $2.23 in labor, 95 cents in benefits, 49 cents in postage, and 20 cents for the envelope and the check. This equates to $3.87 per check. If sewer issues 16 checks per week, times 52, the cost to the town to issue checks for the sewer department is $3,219 per year. Also, for the payroll side, similar process as noted above, takes the treasurer 2 hours to prepare 72 checks. Labor costs are 73 cents per check, benefits 32 cents per check. Postage envelopes checks are the same as vendor checks. The per transaction cost is $1.74. Sewer issues 7 checks per week. It would cost $633 per year. So the costs incurred by the town, according to the town accountant, for the vendor warrant and for your payroll, in the range of $3,800 and change per year.
Thank you very much for that.
I did have a discussion earlier today with Mark about this, so he has a response.
Like this is a discussion about this, there's things that the sewer department does for the town that we don't, say, build the town every time. We have an employee who files with the town, but the 8 hours that he's working, the normal day hours, we cover the payroll for 8 hours. And then he goes, after the 8 hours, he goes on highway salary. 8 hours is a couple $100 or more that every time he goes out. We work with the highway department, they need help, or we need help, we work back and forth. We don't interdepartment bill or stuff like that. The town brings the street sweepings to the wastewater treatment plant, uses cover and landfill. If we didn't take it, they'd have to dispose of it in a proper way, because it's considered a solid waste. It can sit, it's not to be brought, you're not gonna use it to fill in your backyard, you can't. But we take it. It does help us, but it does help the town also. And it's just other interdepartment things that we do for other departments we don't bill. So, do we feel like we get $4,000 worth of billing for doing payroll and vendor warrants? Then, okay, every time we go over to the highway department, do we send them a bill? Does the employee, does he just be on the town's payroll for all the hours? He stops ours, goes works there, and it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Could be another $3,000, $4,000 of more. We'd have to figure out how many hours that he worked that we covered over like last year or the year before at an average that he'd be on say on Bud's payroll, which would be taxation-wise. So, I mean, that's just, if we wanted to, not say nitpick, we're not calling nitpicking, but this is one of the things. I know they do the same thing you know about dispatch service, you know, with the dispatcher. Dispatcher's there 24/7 anyway. They don't run our business. They should, if an alarm company calls and says, you got an alarm at the pump station, they call who's on duty and off they go. So it's not, if the alarm company called us direct, it'd be no extra money, you know, it wouldn't save any money for the town on there. So, I mean, that's what I have to say. I mean, it's $4,000, yeah, granted it's $4,000, but do we want to get into back and forth, billing each other for every little $6, $7 thing? I mean, that's just my take on it.
And we're obviously aware that any increase, if we send you a bill, and then obviously that affects ratepayers who are obviously also taxpayers. I think part of what the effort were, at least for me, is two-pronged. One is to have a more accurate accounting, so it's easier for us to say, these are the services that we're providing, and this is what they cost. So if we can, so then there is a comparison when, you know, when deciding, oh, well, what if you outsource that and send it off to a payroll, not you in particular, but any enterprise, so I guess that's you in light and water. You know, if you sent that off rather than having us do it, would it be a savings to you? So you, the enterprise funds are more aware of what that cost is. Also, as I alluded to before, there is kind of a push or a realization that it may be better to have as formal the steps and processes between enterprise funds and through our town officers, because your budget is separate, different because the town still votes and approves your bottom line. Just use it as light and water as the other example, the town does not vote there. So then it creates this situation where if we are signing these or processing these in our role as being part of the town, but the town didn't approve of that, what responsibilities are we taking off? Whereas if we provide that service as a third-party vendor, basically, is what's happening, or what it would be the equivalent of, even though it's not really, that's the way that would be handled. There could be a better accounting of the processes and a more clear definition between the two, saying we're doing this for you and billing you for it, so that there is a separation, that we're not the town, the treasurer is doing it as the treasurer, but is being paid separately as a third party for that activity. So obviously, but if would have to apply the same process to all enterprises.
$4,000 a week comes up every quarter. $4,000 for the year, it only comes like $80 a week. And
oh, right.
You know what I mean? It's not like it's $4,000 a week. It's
right.
Like $80 a week. You just keep breaking it up. I mean, I think, you know, we do help, you know, more than $80 a week.
Right.
From the sewer department, helping the highway department or other departments that need, or here it's the cemetery department or anything, because we have the truck, and the sander belongs to the cemetery department, right? Yeah, but our guys, the sand from the highway department, put into the cemetery sander, which is in our truck, and we go sand their spots. So do we say, okay, we go buy a sander to sand our spots, cemetery, right, you get a dump truck and put your own thing in, you get your own sand. I just don't want it to.
Right.
It should not have to come to that. I mean, it's like $80 a week for doing the vendor warrants.
Yes.
Yeah, and, I mean, I think Mark has a good point, because once you start weighing all of this out, I'll bet that what the sewer department does for all of the town departments probably exceeds this. I do see that having that accountability is important, but do we necessarily really have to be billing and transferring funds between departments? I mean, we should be able to have just some sort of auditing process that says, yes, you know, the town provided $4,000 a year of services to the sewer department, but the sewer department did, you know, $6,000 worth of services for the town.
Also,
should be able to account for that, but I don't know that there have to be fund transfers.
Also, all municipal buildings really charge a minimum, no matter what the water usage is.
Right.
So, I mean, if you were to go how our water usage for everybody else, and if they get their, you know, using excess water, they pay more in sewer. You know, highway department, I mean, it's like washing their trucks or whatever other things they're doing, they only pay one bill. I mean, per quarter. That would be the same thing, School Street, that would be Elm Street, that would be it's gonna be over here, you know what I mean, in town hall, same thing. So if you use your own water, we still charge you only that one, the minimum rate.
Right.
That's what we've done, so that adds up to
Right.
a lot of money a year.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. That, again, that isn't the same agreement that we have with other enterprise funds,
Right,
so then
yeah.
there is more of a, we provide services for free, and then we get a bill
Right.
for those services in return. Yes?
I think you need to be careful and not cut your nose off to spite your face, because in your own backyard, if you're behind the school, you're about to start a project that you're possibly gonna find material that you're gonna have to say, oh, please, can we put this over here in your the landfill area, because there's an old leach field possibly over there.
Oh, right. Yeah, and I think too, as I said, and as Doug alluded to as well, I don't know as if there necessarily needs to be fund transfers back and forth as well, but to have an accounting of those provided would be, when then it does come time, and not that we have payment in lieu of taxation issues with sewer department, but with other enterprise funds, when those issues come up where we,
The budget comes up.
right, we know, we have an idea of, so then it's not just them saying, well, you know, well, we give you a discount on your lights, and, you know, we're saying, well, we charge you this much, so the townspeople have a more accurate reflection of where their tax dollars are going, because the reason enterprise funds are set up is so that the taxpayers are not, well, it goes both ways, so that we don't use those funds to kind of extract money from you, so that the, you know, electric ratepayers and sewer and water ratepayers have to foot the bill when we can only raise taxes 2.5% and override, so we can't, but then it also goes in the reverse as well.